All right, guys, so the way that this is going to work is once a user logs in, once they're verified, the email is verified, the password, they're going to get back a token using the JSON Web Token module. All right, and then once they get that token, they can send that along to access a protected route. Okay, now the way that it's validated when the token is sent by the user is with Passport and Passport JWT. All right, so just remember that the JSON Web Token module creates the token. Passport will actually validate it. It'll also extract the user's information from it. Now, before we get to actually dealing with tokens and all that, we need to add the login functionality, meaning we need to accept a user's email, validate that email that it exists, and then validate their password. So that's what we're going to do in this video. So I'm going to copy one of these headers here and go down to the bottom. We're in the user's route file. And let's actually change this. So this will be users/login. And what this is going to do, we'll say login user, but what it's really doing is returning the token, okay, or the JWT, the JSON Web Token. So let's do router. This is going to be a post request, and it's going to be to /login, and let's throw in our arrow function. Request response, and let's see. So let's think about what we need to do here. Now they're going to send a form that has an email and a password. So I'm going to put those into variables. Now remember, when they send a form, it'll be in request.body because we're using body parser, and it'll be an email for that. And then the password we'll put in a variable called password. Okay, so we'll get that. And then what we want to do is find the user by email. And to do that, we're going to use our user model in Mongoose. So we'll say user. We're going to use find one because that's what we're doing. We're finding one record. We want to match the email. What do we want to match it to? We want to match it to this, okay, which has the same name. So instead of doing that, we can just simply do that. Now this will give us a promise. So we want to do a .then, and in here it'll give us the user. If it matches, if it doesn't match, this user variable will be false. So let's do a check for user. So we'll say if there's no user, then we're going to return res.json, I'm sorry, res.status, because we want to send an error status of 404. 404 is not found. And then we also want to send along an error called email, and we'll just say user email not found, or we can even just say user not found because we're not using like usernames or anything like that. Now if the user is found, then this is going to be skipped, right? So we're going to keep going. What's the next thing we need to do after we find the user to log in? We need to match the password, right? So let's say check password. Now remember, the password that the user types in that's right here is plain text, and the password that's in the database is hashed. So once again, we need to use bcrypt to compare the two. So it actually has a method called compare. So bcrypt.compare, and this will give us a promise. So we're going to do a .then, but what we pass in here is first the plain text password, which is the variable we created above, and then we can get the user's hashed password from the user right here. Okay, remember, if there is a user, then we have access to it. So we can just pass in user.password, which will be the hashed password that's in the database. Okay, then we're going to do a .then. We'll put this on a new line. So .then, and then what this will give us is a true or false value. which will be, I'll call is match. And then what we want to do is check to see if that's true. So we'll just say if is match, then that means the user passed. So if the user passed, this is where we want to generate the token. But I'm not going to do that just yet, so I'm just going to temporarily res.json and just say message success. Now we need to put an else here because, of course, if the password doesn't match, we need to do something. So in this case, if the password doesn't match, let's do a return res.status, and we're going to do a 400.json. And let's see, we're going to call this error password. And these names are very important because we're actually going to be using these messages on the front end when we get them, when we get these sent back. So this will just be password incorrect. Okay, and let's see. I think that should do it. So let's try it out. We'll save. Since I'm using Prettier, you can see that it changes a little bit when I save, just the formatting. But let's go over to Postman, and let's make a post request to HTTP localhost 5000 / user or users, nope, API / users / login. Let's go to body and choose form URL encoded. And we want to send along in the body an email. And what I'm going to do here is an email that doesn't exist. This is the one that does exist. So what I'll do is just put a 1 because I want this to fail at first. So I'm going to just put a 1 right here. And then the password. The correct password is that, but I'm just going to add a 7 to make it wrong. And let's try it. User not found. So what happened is if we go back to here, is it got the email and password that we sent. It looked for the user by the email and it wasn't found, so it sent this out. Okay, that's the response we got. Now let's make the user one that's actually in there, but with the wrong password. Password incorrect. Okay, so it kept going. We compared the password and it was incorrect, so we're getting this response. Now, if we make the password correct, we should get success. So let's do that. Let's get rid of the 7 and send, and we get success. All right, so the logic for the login is there. It's just not doing anything. It's not actually logging us in, and we're just simply getting this. What we want to happen is we want to get the token back. All right, so in the next video, we're going to bring in JSON Web Token, and instead of sending message success, we want to send that token back.